I wonder how many unresolved conflict in people's lives could be made better by just owning your role and accepting your part in the story.
Yeah.
So if someone's listening right now, even as I'm doing my mental inventory, look at all the conflicts in your life. Have you accepted and owned your role in the story? If that answer is a no, then there's more peace for you.
Right.
And if your first reaction is to say, yeah, but you're definitely in the market for a brand new chapter of extraordinary ownership and acceptance. I accept my role. I accept the part that I played in this, and that's what I'm going to work on. And to me, that's where so much power is. My submission to people is if you really grab ownership and acceptance of your own actions and your role, the mythical closure that you thought you needed doesn't even exist anymore. Resolution doesn't even exist. Like there are some people hanging out for an apology. I was one of those people. There was a part of our journey so far where there's a season where I was like, someone needs to make this right. And until that happens, I don't know if I can ever get through this. And then you start worrying about your role and accepting your part in the story. This amazing self-work part where you're like, I don't even need closure from that person. They didn't have that much power in the first place. I don't need resolution. It's great if you get it. But if you are listening to this and you're hanging out for someone to apologize or someone to make it right, they don't have the power to give you the peace that you're after. Lights On podcast. Welcome back.
Welcome.
Me and Losey Bell, what you drinking there, girl?
My matcha.
Your matcha?
It's my new obsession.
Oh, I know. I've heard about it relentlessly.
I love it. It's apparently a superfood for me. So, I drink it when I can.
You got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm. I want to be super.
What's on your heart today?
Not much. I watched your episode with Steve-O last night.
What'd you think?
It was awesome.
I loved it.
His voice is crazy.
His voice is wild.
Do you think that's from drug abuse or is it from
I don't know. I didn't ask him. I think I just was fascinated by it. And
he just has such a distinct voice.
Yeah.
But you handling some of his thoughts on the church and stuff like that, I just loved it because you didn't jump on any of his thoughts.
Yeah.
You just let him talk. Whereas I think a lot of people would probably try and correct him or tell him that that's not right, or because he was talking about a completely different type of church that we go to.
Yeah, or a different set of beliefs.
Yeah, it's different beliefs, and I just thought it was really cool how you just allowed him to be him in that moment.
Well, thank you. That's nice of you to say.
And that last 30 minutes of you talking about
spiritual
Jesus
stuff.
and stuff was
I
really
think
cool.
You used the word correction. And I think a lot of Christians think that their role in life can be to correct everybody. I hate that. I don't believe that. I think that I always have a short play and a long play in mind, especially if I'm having a conversation. Like I'm not there to correct somebody. I asked you to tell your story, and I'm not going to correct you on everything you say. And I think there's a time and a place to start ripping open doctrine. But I love hearing, people give their full thoughts. I think people can take a page from that book often in your relationship. Like if your goal of a conversation is to convert somebody to your faith system within that conversation, maybe rethink that a little bit. I think there's a time and a place for that, but that's never ever been my goal. Definitely not now.
Right.
So I enjoy hearing people talk.
Yeah, I love that.
Special.
So I thought that was really cool.
We're going to do a very special episode. Just always want to take a second to thank you for being a part of this. There wouldn't a day doesn't go by where we don't run into somebody that has a story for us in person about something that we talk about, and it really matters to us. So for everybody who's a faithful listener to this, we love you. We're grateful for you. We do talk about some stuff that can get really tricky and hard, and it's an honor to carry that with you, because there's a lot of people who are in a boat that doesn't look perfect to everybody. And sometimes it's just good to know you're not alone. So I will start this podcast with that. You are not alone. If you are listening to this and you're going through a tough season, a tough time, it's going to get better. It really is, especially when it comes to heartache, betrayal, hurt. It's just cool to be able to look at people in their eye and go, it's definitely going to get better. Don't give up.
Yeah.
One question we got, and we're going to get to these questions in
There's
a moment. It's so
many
good.
this time.
We still can't figure out how to do this
I know.
the most resourceful way. I mean, we could spend 4 or 5 pods just doing questions, which we probably will.
Probably should.
One question I get in person a lot is how do you get joy? Like, why do you seem joyful? Why do you seem like
me or you?
Just me?
Oh.
And they're talking about us. Like, you guys have been through a lot. Like, where did the joy come from? And I can honestly tell people it's probably the first time in my adult life I really experienced the state of joy, which is just a peace that God is in control and things are going to be okay. I think that's my really simplistic version of it. But as I broke it down for somebody, they were saying, "What's one of the biggest keys?" And I can drill it down to one word, which we'll talk about for a little bit, and that's this word, acceptance. So as people listen to this and watch it, sometimes when people hear the word acceptance, it seems weak. It seems, like something they don't want to do. I don't see acceptance like that. There is a definition. One of the easiest ways to articulate it is the definition is the true acceptance of a reality without resistance. That's powerful. That's not really in my makeup as a human. To accept a state, a person, a particular reality and not resist it, that's acceptance. And it is a weapon. And in one context, you can switch it out, babe, for the word ownership. Like acceptance and ownership to me come hand in hand in a really special way. And when it comes to conflict resolution and finding peace in your own life, learning how to accept your role in a story is the difference in my mind between peace and a lifetime of bitterness and blame and deflection and living as a victim. Like the difference between serenity and victim identity living is this word acceptance. Will you own your role in the story? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love that. I think for you, like you waking up every day with that,
yeah,
like you literally do that every day. I think I'm still learning that a little bit.
Yeah.
In some ways, but what's a practical thing you do to do that?
Yeah.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining the Lights On podcast. Today's episode with Laura and Carl is epic, and there is a lot of beautiful moments of humor and laughter, and then a lot of really strong moments where they get into some real stuff from you and your questions and with what you're actually dealing with. I love that these two actually get to address it. So we want to thank you. We encourage you and submit to you that we'd love for you to normalize vulnerability with us. This whole episode, this whole podcast, it lives in vulnerability, and we want you to normalize it with us. And a simple way you can do that, you can go download and subscribe to the B-Side app today. You get all the content first, you get all of Carl's episodes first, our whole network of content that we've created, and you get to help us normalize this thing, which is vulnerability. So we love you guys. You are amazing. Enjoy this episode. Peace.
I mean, there's a lot, but I think to accept something, to take ownership of it, it doesn't mean you don't address somebody else's role in the story, especially when it comes to conflict, hurt, pain, betrayal. I think it just simply means that you have power, you have choice, you realize that you have agency in your life. And by acknowledging that, it really takes a lot of the weirdness out of conflict resolution. I think we like when people say, yeah, I did this, but they did this, and that, and it's so much worse. Let's focus on that. That to me is so much easier to do. And when people give me answers like that, I say, I get that, but you're setting yourself up for partial healing. And I wonder, here's a good question. I wonder how many conflicts, unresolved conflict in people's lives could be made better by just owning your role and accepting your part in the story.
Yeah.
So if someone's listening right now, even as I'm doing my mental inventory, look at all the conflicts in your life. Have you accepted and owned your role in the story? If that answer is a no, then there's more peace for you.
Right.
And if your first reaction is to say, yeah, but you're definitely in the market for a brand new chapter of extraordinary ownership and acceptance. I accept my role. I accept the part that I played in this, and that's what I'm going to work on. And to me, that's where so much power is. Our situation is a good example. I think that's why you always got to be careful with the advice you get when you're in a crisis, because there are people who will almost walk you unintentionally into a victim mindset. Like, yeah, you were wronged, and this person did that, and this person did that. And for me, I remember getting this word of wisdom about owning my side of the street, accepting my role in all the stories. And it gave me like so much freedom that I can't even articulate. I mean, there are parts of my story and yours and the listener where I was wronged. People did wrong things to me. It did hurt. It wasn't acceptable. That's true. And I had a role to play in all that. And what I found was by digging into my role, by the time I got back to Bitter Street, I wasn't the same person.
Yeah.
My submission to people is if you really grab ownership and acceptance of your own actions and your role, the mythical closure that you thought you needed doesn't even exist anymore. Resolution doesn't even exist. Like there are some people hanging out for an apology. I was one of those people. There was a part of our journey so far where there's a season where I was like, someone needs to make this right. And until that happens, I don't know if I can ever get through this. And then you start worrying about your role.
Yeah.
And accepting your part in the story, and you get to this amazing self-work part where you're like, I don't even need closure from that person. They didn't have that much power in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't need resolution. It's great if you get it, but if you are listening to this and you're hanging out for someone to apologize or someone to make it right, they don't have the power to give you the peace that you're after. Only you do.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think in our situation, that was, you have done a really good job of owning so much of it, all of it, and even the things that you didn't really have to, like some of the things you were talking about, like the unforgiveness stuff or the things that were said or whatever. You did such a good job of like, you go overboard the other way. And I think that's helped us in our healing journey and in our walk to the other side of this.
Yeah.
And in that freedom, like it's been so helpful.
Yeah.
To have that, like, no, this is our story and we can deal with what we need to on this end. And if someone else wants to, great, but it doesn't change our journey at all.
It is night and day when you talk to someone who is on my side of the street and the person who's still bitter. I can pick it up in probably 50 seconds. When someone pours their heart out, I'm like, okay, yeah, so you are still very focused on what other people did to you. Mm-hmm. I can't really help you with that because we can't control them. There's no timetable for them, but we can control you. So are you aware that these 5 factors were in play that you had control over? Do you want to address these? It's like, but that's going to minimize. It's not going to minimize anything. It's going to maximize your freedom. And so I think there's something to this. I think there are a lot of people who say, can we hang out? Can we talk? Can we get coaching? I'm like, I can sum it up for you real quick. Own all of your,
right.
Like own it, accept it. I accept my role in the relationships that broke down. I accept my role in the infidelity in our marriage. I accept that I hurt you. That doesn't minimize any other factors. It just helps me locate what I'm going to spend the rest of my life working on. And so when I see people who get it, their face changes. Yeah. They're free. It's like, you had a horrible boss and they mistreated you and it was wrong. Where in this story were you that you had control? Is there one area you could have worked on? That's where your freedom is. And it's amazing how some of that stuff kind of ends up evaporating. It needs to be said, Lozzie Bell, that our culture does not love this. No. Our culture does not love ownership, does not love acceptance at all. And from movies to people who love the identity of the person being wrong. Like you can build an army with people like that, to even some of our favorite musicians. I love Morgan Wallen, okay? This needs to be clear.
Yes, you do.
Make sure the sound. He's top 2 for me. I listened to Morgan Wallen for damn near 2 straight years in Florida only. So Morgan, you're a legend and I love you. he had a song that just came out, and I listened to it the other day, and it was so funny because it epitomizes the opposite of ownership and acceptance. In case you've never heard it, I'm going to read some of the lyrics to Morgan Wallen's song, I Had Some Help. Even the premise is awesome. I had some help. Here's what Morgan says. I don't know if he wrote this, but he sings it, and it's rad. You got a lot of nerve, don't you, baby? I only hit the curb because you made me. You're telling all your friends that I'm crazy like I'm the only one. Ooh, it feels good. Preach, brother. Why'd you throw them stones if you had a wild hair of your own or two? Living in your big glass house with a view? I thought you knew. Trying to throw in some Oklahoma twang in there. And the chorus is the banger. I had some help. It ain't like I can make this kind of mess all by myself. Don't act like you ain't helped me pull that bottle off the shelf. Been deep in every weekend if you couldn't tell. They say teamwork makes the dream work. Hell, I had some help. And everybody cheers. You thought I'd take the blame for us a-crumbling? Go around like you ain't guilty of something? Already lost the game that you've been running? Guess it's catching up to you. You think you're so innocent? All the you did, I ain't an angel. And you ain't heaven sent. Can't wash our hands of this. Ain't like I can make this kind of mess all by myself. Morgan Wallen, that guy can write a banger. The principle of the song, probably not the most resourceful one to live by. It's like, hey, I had some help. I mean, yeah, I messed up, but I had some help. If you live like that, here is my submission to you. If you are in a situation that has hurt you or something's gone wrong, if you want half healing, take half ownership. If you want full healing, take full
That's good.
ownership. I don't know if the song would be as catchy if the chorus was like, I did it, it's my fault.
Yeah, it's not as fun.
It ain't like you didn't help me take that bottle up off the shelf. It is classic victim, lack of ownership mentality, and it makes for a great song. Perhaps it makes for a terrible life.
Yeah.
And when it comes to our marriage, I think you would probably agree that us learning how to accept ourselves and accept each other has been a superpower for us. We crush that. We are really, really good at it. And when you love somebody, it is funny how the stuff that you used to love about somebody, the longer you're married to them, those are the things that make you want to go crazy. Well, it's like when you're dating, you're like, I love it, how she just is so carefree. And then you get married and you're like, are you ever going to get serious?
I saw an Instagram or a TikTok or something of a guy like just sitting there and he's just eating and drinking his coffee. He's like, I never knew how annoying my eating, drinking, and breathing was until I got married.
Hilarious.
And I was like, it's so true. There's so many things that are just so irritating.
But you got to learn how to accept some things if you ever want to have a relationship that matters. And it goes back to like the baseline of what perhaps love should be, which is loving somebody for who they are, not just for who they might become. That was one of my big issues as a leader. Oh my gosh. Like I was very rarely happy with people because I was so passionate about who I knew they could become.
Yeah.
Didn't understand that sometimes people would internalize that like they weren't good enough. And in our marriage, I've seen a beautiful serenity in looking at you and some things and going, you know, I accept that about my wife. That's who she is. I can't change it anyway. So I got to make some concessions so we can keep on staying married. I have a list of things that I've had to accept as your husband. And
okay, I got a list.
It is a laundry list, let me tell you. It is a Dead Sea Scroll of issues.
That didn't work.
I've got a list. I'll go first and you go second. And for everyone listening at home, we did not pre-prepare this. I told her that I was going to do this, and I don't want to know what yours are. You don't know what mine are. But here are 3 things I've had to accept about Laura Lentz that I have decided I no longer can change.
Wait, only 3?
What are you trying to say, you
mine's a
freaking
bit
jerk?
longer.
Okay, feel free. You can have as many as you want. Here's number 1. I've had to accept that when I call you on the phone, it's going to take at least a minute from the moment you pick up to be able to even say hello. I don't know what happens in that minute. I don't know where you go. I don't know what's going on. But, hey, love, a minute later, you will then go, hi, can I help you? What goes on?
That's
between
a bit
that?
of an exaggeration.
It's not an exaggeration.
5 seconds.
It's not 5 seconds. I don't know if you're fixing your Bluetooth. I don't know where you go because it happens everywhere you go. I'll call you at home on your couch and, hey, what you up to? 30 seconds later, oh, hey, like I've just learned to accept that about you, that's a mystery that only the cosmos can maybe make sense of, but I've accepted it rather than say, hey, babe, why don't you just talk immediately like most normal people?
Respond?
When I call, why not just pick up the phone and talk? No, you know what? I've accepted it. I no longer resist it. I just lean into it. Now I say, hey, love, what you doing? And I prepare myself to wait for at least 50 seconds for you to get yourself situated to respond. That's number one. You feel free to share one from your end of the...
Here's what happens. No, I'm going to say it first.
Okay.
Here's what happens. Usually, I don't carry my phone around, like, if I'm in the house or if I'm even driving, like,
Sure.
I'm driving. So
Yeah.
I'm usually, like, doing something
But that's the thing about
home.
Bluetooth, though, babe.
But then
it's
I also
connected.
have a watch. But even that, like, what I usually do is, like, it comes up, so I swipe to answer the call, and then I want to go on speaker because I hate holding my phone because I'm usually, like, doing something productive. So I tap the speaker button, but it usually takes me a second to find the speaker button and then to press it.
Even your answer is annoying me now. Hold on, let me...
So there's that.
Well, okay. So my point is I've learned to accept it. And
I've got mine number one.
okay, so do you want to go? We'll go one for one.
Yep.
Is that tit
number
for
one
tat?
for me?
Great.
Is your gum chewing.
Ooh.
I mean, I know we've had some complaints on the pod
Hey,
about how you always chew your
keep
dang
on
gum.
complaining because guess what? I'm going to chew it until the
Guys,
cows come home.
it gets
What does
much
that even
worse.
mean, by the way? I'm going to chew till the cows come
It's much worse than that because it's not just the gum, it's the packets. Like, they're all individually
Sure.
served.
Yeah.
So you have to open them, and there's plastic and foil
Yeah, that bugs you, does
strewn
it?
around my house like you do with my books. Your gum packets are all over.
I don't feel safe right now. I thought that's something you accepted. It sounds like it's something you're attacking.
I do accept it. I don't really accept it.
Okay,
I
so
don't
that
know
didn't
what
count.
it's
Okay.
just a complaint.
So your first one is it's a non-starter. We'll move on. I'll go to my second one.
Actually,
something-
all mine might be like
Did you not understand the point of this exercise was to portray an image of
Look, mine
acceptance?
just say Carl annoyances.
Oh my gosh, you filed it wrong. Mine are things I've accepted about my beautiful wife. Your file says Carl annoyances. All right, here's my second one that I've had to accept. And I'm doing this because I do feel like it's a real-time example of we're making it, lighter. But the truth is, if you have things about your spouse or your loved one that you refuse to accept, it's a life of misery. And you find people that are filled with resentment and contempt because there's something that they secretly want that person to change and that person will not do it.
I think it's those little things that
Oh,
start
yeah.
to separate people.
It's not the big stuff that gets you. It's stuff like that. So here's my second thing about you. You snore. It is.
You really?
I'm going there. You snore. It can be cute, but apparently you can only fall asleep with your face towards me.
Well,
So what that means is every night as I peacefully settle in,
Peacefully?
can I finish without being attacked? As I peacefully settle in, I'm going to be faced with your beautiful snoring directly next to my ear. And then I lovingly put my index finger on your cheek and shove your face away.
Lovingly.
And then you act like that's on me. And I'm saying, I told you to fall asleep the other way. Now I accept it. I love it. I just wait for that moment and I lovingly push your face to face the other way. And now I have actually begun a new way of acceptance, which is called building a pillow wall.
Yes.
So I'm up to 4 pillows between us at times at night, just so I can get some mother effing peace and quiet while I sleep and not have to deal with this cacophony of noise.
I'm over 40. Apparently.
You're 46, my love.
I know.
You can't say that
46?
anymore. Over 40 means
Almost
you're 40
50?
to 42. But if you say I'm over 40, the implication is it's early 40s. We are well beyond
I'm
that hill,
almost 50.
my
Okay,
G.
well, that makes it even better then. So apparently, some of those like perimenopausal like situations.
Oh, gosh. Shout out to all the husbands dealing with that fresh excuse.
Also perimenopause.
Why are you acting
it's
neurotic?
An excuse for the
Perimenopause.
next 20
Okay.
years, I
So
hear.
we have to deal with the first part, which isn't perimenopause, just regular
hormones and
hormonal
having your children.
Woman cycle.
Correct.
We have to deal with that. And then when you're finally done with that, we get this new chapter of what's it called?
Perimenopause.
Perimenopause,
Yep.
which is a very lovely, convenient excuse created from heaven for you to just do some wild things, and you put it on your perimenopause, and I'm sick of it. Okay. Number 2.
Oh, wait, it's my turn.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm throwing it your way.
One of my
Wait
biggest...
a second. I've got perimenopause. I'm going to go walk around in circles and yell. Okay, continue.
One of mine is that I've learned to accept.
You can't air quote.
Are those the right ones?
The key word of this whole podcast episode is about the word that you're air quoting, which lessens the impact. Continue.
It is the fact that you have shoes also strewn around the house. For some reason, you don't wear just one pair of shoes in a day. You wear about 3 or 4.
Perhaps.
And you don't put them away. You just put them, you just walk in the house and you take them off and they're just there. Like in the middle of the kitchen, in
when
the
you
middle
say
of the
there,
living room.
do you mean there?
Outside on the patio. Like they're just in the middle of places.
Yeah,
like,
in our house where we live. You're right. They are.
Yes,
I
but-
take my shoes off in my own house. You're right.
Yes. So I've come to accept that. Now your son does it. So it's definitely
a
little bit more on my radar.
I will say that
he
did
is
open
your
my
twin.
eyes a little bit, because it's one thing for me to have my shoes strewn about, but when I see Romans, it does annoy me, which gives me
He flicks them off too.
it gives me a fresh, grateful feeling that you have accepted this. I have done a better job. You've communicated that you'd like my shoes to be in a particular spot.
I have I've just come to accept it though for the most
it's the
part. But it
first thing that
doesn't mean
comes
you
off.
have to
Thank
stop
you.
doing that.
Thank you for accepting
If you could
that.
put them in the shoebox in the mudroom, that'd be great.
Okay. Here's a third thing about you that I've had to accept. And your daughters, shout out to Ava Boo and Charlie Jane, can concur, should I call them right now on FaceTime. I've accepted the fact that although we can all see it, you will point out and give us 5 minutes speeches about your love of car washes, no matter where we are, no matter how many car washes it might be. Oh, look, there's a car wash. To which we all say, we can see it too. Like, I don't know why you think we can't see it, but then you go, I love car washes. Every single time. So I've stopped saying, hey, babe, remember yesterday we passed those 17 car washes and you told us that you love car washes 17 times? Today's a new day.
They're great.
but
Like
you
there's
don't have
some
to
that are better than others.
Right. That's something
I
about
like a
you
clean
that I've
car.
just accepted. You like a clean car. For whatever reason, the sight of a car wash brings euphoria to your body.
It is fun though.
See, you're lighting up right now.
I am.
So rather than just say, hey, babe, can you not point out every car wash? Now I just wait for it. I love it. And I accept it. And me and your daughters all talk about you behind your back in regards to that.
I know.
That's my third. You got anything else?
Yep. I've just got to pick which one.
Okay, just go. You can just go rapid fire if you want, because apparently you've got a freaking Dead Sea Scroll.
All right. The eating in bed.
Mm.
We
Tread
tend
lightly.
to have a little bit of a different sleep schedule. If I'm going to bed, I'm going to bed. Like it's like lights out bedtime.
Right.
For you come to bed at the same time, but then it's like
Yeah, I've got things to do.
you have on the side of the bed like just piles of snacks that you are about.
Piles or the same amount of packages every night?
Packets and packets of snacks that you are going to go through. And then it's about the third packet that is crumpling and opening while I'm trying to sleep. And the crunching of the Quest chips that is extra annoying. And I have to take that in because you get annoyed with me because of my snoring. But
Well,
that
my
is
exact line
really-
is, my
I'm just
exact
trying to
line,
go to
when you do
sleep.
complain about the crackling of the bag, my line is, are you effing serious that I've got to deal with a marching band of noise next to me every night and you're going to get on me about this crackle? So I have noticed that you've stopped taking shots about it because you are cognizant of the marching band represented in your face when you snore. It's not a lot of snacks. It just is the snacks
is a
that I
lot
love.
of
But
snacks.
you don't badger me about it. And because of that, I am more thoughtful with it.
it is nice every now and then when you remember that and you unpack them
Yeah.
in the kitchen. But then I still have to deal with your loud ass chewing and crunching. That's a lot. And then I've got another one.
Okay.
Your stupid bag that comes with you everywhere.
Oh, you mean my bag that just has my possessions in it? Where
Yes.
should it go?
It's just everywhere. I was telling one of our
everywhere
friends
I
this the
go,
other
it's like
day.
a wallet. Like, why would my bag not be on
I
me?
just don't know why it has to sit on the couch in between us.
Because I was on the couch first. You
Yeah, but
chose
you
to
don't
sit down,
need
and
your
my bag's
bag.
there. I do need my bag there. There's things
Just
in there.
get your things out of the
There's
bag.
belongings in there. There's computers. There's magazines. There's gum. I need that bag.
Oh my God. The other day I did have a meltdown about it.
You did. You just
But
started
now I'm just
abusing
trying
that
to
bag.
accept it.
I appreciate.
Is this the goal?
I don't know. I think all we've done is just point to things that we're trying
Another
to
one
accept.
that you do that you may not be aware of.
Here I am trying to segue. Guys, we are right back in the Terror Dome. Continue.
The
love.
one that you will come at me with like a thought, and then I'll be like, what are you talking about? And you go, I told you about this, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And I'll be like, nope, you didn't. And then we get to the final conclusion that you've had these conversations in your head, but you think that you've told me. And then for some reason, I'm in trouble for not remembering.
Perhaps
But
the truth is
you-
in the middle there, goldfish memory person. Like,
Again, perimenopause.
oh, okay. Sorry. My bad. I retract. Her inability to remember things immediately is perimenopause.
I have so many.
Okay.
Like the car mess.
Oh no. Okay. Let's just give it a rest.
But
okay?
guys, the point of the thing is that you just accept your spouse for where they're at.
without resistance. So
There's a little
all right, I'll give a
resistance.
serious one. Here's a serious one
Okay.
that I've accepted. I had to accept that I hurt you, and that will show up sometimes, and there's no timetable for your healing.
That's
I've
a good
accepted that, and by accepting it, it has completely removed negative reactions to how you feel and when you need to feel them. Because before I didn't accept that. I'm like, no, you're going to heal, and you're not going to have bad memories, and you're not going to get triggered by me, and this is going to happen. And then I realized that it's a selfish thing for me to put a timetable on you for the hurt that I caused. So I accepted for the rest of my life, I am prepared for you to have to express how you feel due to the hurt that I caused. And I have embraced and accepted that, and I own that, and there's freedom in that. And it gives you the right to not second guess communicating with me because you're afraid of my reaction. So I win on both fronts. I win because it's on me, and then I get the best of you because you don't have to go through mental gymnastics going, how is he going to react
Oh, yeah.
to how I feel about what he did?
Right.
So that's been a beautiful thing for me to, with God's help, accept.
Yeah, you've done good with that.
Yeah, thanks, babe. Thanks for throwing some positive love here.
But I don't have a lot of that anymore. But there
No,
are
you don't.
every now and then there'll be things.
Well,
that I'm
maybe
just
you
like,
have more than you realize, but you're just able to
Maybe.
talk about it, so it's not even like a confrontation.
Yeah, maybe.
Here's another one that I've accepted. I've accepted that you're not as verbal as me. And rather than try to turn you into a verbal person, which I did for a long time, I have now accepted the fact that, lo and behold, my wife communicates differently than me, and it doesn't mean that the answer is less. So after I give you 17 paragraphs of how I feel, and you give me 2 lines,
And it just sums it up.
it's your heart.
Yeah.
And it's simple and it's beautiful. And so for a while, I used to take that personally and go, I just shared an hour's worth of stuff with you. And your response was, not as long as, oh, wait, maybe she doesn't need the same number of words. Maybe she doesn't communicate like me. So rather than look at you and go, you don't communicate well, I'm able to accept that you communicate beautifully. It's just different than me.
Yeah.
And it's made our marriage better, for sure. So I love that about you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I love you.
Let's go to some Q&A. Because
Also, great jacket today.
Oh, thank you. I like this jacket. This
Haven't
jacket
seen that in a while.
was made by Anthony Davis, a.k.a. PJ, a.k.a. my brother, Queens, New York. Shout out. PJ, I love you. It still fits. It's still cool. But I'm also that old guy that might wear what I think is cool regardless.
Yeah.
I'm headed.
You're
I'm
almost
barreling
50.
down that direction of like, what? These are no longer cool? Oh, well. Like I
don't
really
care.
Don't care. If it's cool to me at, post 45, it just means it's cool. Don't even need you to like it. Let's do some questions, and then we'll bookmark it and get back in because we got so many good ones today. Some of them made me emotional, just trying to pick through them. I'll read the first one that we chose to answer, and then you can do the next one. So this is Ooh. Okay. First question. I'm wondering what recovery and healing work looks like for each of you at the various stages of this journey. And what do you foresee needing to have in place indefinitely? For example, what were you each doing daily, weekly at 3 to 6 months versus 12 to 18 months versus 2 to 3 years? Has anything changed? Do you ever foresee life being normal without having to be reminded of the addiction, betrayal? Beautiful question. Do you want to speak to that? I can hop right in there and say that, my gosh, does it change?
Yeah.
But you have to accept each stage for what it is.
Right.
So some stages, they seem really tedious. Like there was a thing where you and I were in therapy or counseling almost every day. I was. Mm-hmm. And that was that part of that journey. It shifts.
Yeah.
Due to fruit and due to consistency. So my perspective on that question would be, yeah, life is normal. And we don't think about the addiction, betrayal a lot. We really don't. We do when we need to, or if it presents itself, but it's not like the theme of our house or our marriage or our life.
Not at all. I feel like, we're 4 years in now, so it's very different from someone who's in the 3 to 6 month range of that. 3 to 6 months is like heavy. And even 12 to 18 months is still pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Like it's heavy.
And it's okay. Yeah. It's okay for it to be.
But there's also no time frame for any of it. And it just depends on... you locked out?
Keep going.
It depends on everyone's circumstances. Because everyone's different.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the second part of her question is, I think you mentioned in an earlier podcast that there was a relapse at one point. Are you comfortable sharing what constitutes a relapse? The word terrifies me, and I know it's common with addiction. Yeah, I'm always comfortable sharing what constitutes a relapse is if you have an agreement with your wife or a sober companion, and there are 3 factors in there where if these 3 things happen, it means I'm in a relapse and I have to start from square one. That definitely did happen to me with my sexual sobriety, and it was a hard moment that we had to work through. You had to, again, choose to see it from a different angle. And I remember when that happened, my admission that I brought you wasn't caught, wasn't something that was maybe detrimental to somebody else, but in our journey, it was everything. We had to start over again, months and months down the track.
It breaks trust again. So then you have to start at the beginning. And I think understanding that when you're in a committed relationship with an addict, you have to be aware of those 3 things or whatever the list is that constitutes for a relapse, and you have to have your boundaries on that and what that looks like for you individual. Like everyone's different depending on the situations. So it was really hard, but it was like starting again.
It was. You're looking for the plan after.
The plan after
and the response of the spirit.
Bounce back,
I know for me it was, I was honest with you, honest with my therapist, honest, and it was like, hey, you get to choose how you can look at this. Here's what I've discovered through this moment and what I plan to do about it, because I wasn't confronted with the situation that I tripped up and fell through. And I learned from that, and I gave you a plan with consequences that gave you enough peace to continue to go on. So I think people can manipulate that. Men can, when they have relapses and they try to minimize it or whatever. Like, I think taking the power out of the hands of that person needs to be in your hands.
Right.
You decide whether it's a big deal, not that person.
And then I think it's good to have that. I think I was prepared for that as well, because my therapist had prepared me for some of these things.
Well, for people to understand, like, especially when you're coming out of sexual compulsion issues, very rarely does somebody have a clean road.
Yeah.
I've never heard of one. So they prepare you when you leave rehab to say, hey, there's going to be a moment where, this is going to get tested and you might fall. And I remember thinking again, even back then, I'm like, I will be your case study with the person who doesn't relapse, because I don't do that. And it was a humbling, hard reality. But I think if you sign up to support somebody through it, this needs to be factored in. What will I do if and when a relapse happens.
You have to have some sort of plan.
What type
in place.
of relapse? What went around it? Who knew about it? What's your plan? What's the spirit of the person that's committed the relapse? What's their posture? There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So I think it demands a whole lot of scrutiny and wise counsel to get through that.
Yeah.
Next question. Carl and Laura, I'm in need of some help. This June was the official divorce due to me cheating on my wife. I ruined everything and never got the chance to try to fix or work on anything. We were together for 22 years, married for 12. We have a 6-year-old daughter. I've tried everything to hold on to hope that God doesn't hate me, and I wish somebody could just talk to me and my ex, and someone cared. If somebody cared to not see a family torn apart, I understand it's her choice, and I struggle badly with the better or for worse. I've been in sex addiction counseling since this particular date. It's been helpful in understanding the where and the why. That's not an excuse for what I did, but I never knew the trauma that I carried through the years. I just want to talk to somebody who gets it and doesn't see me as a mistake. We were pastors, and everybody walked away from me because of what I did. Luckily, I have had family, a few people that have stuck with me, but I hear your story. I relate to it a lot. Please pray for me, and I'd love any feedback to build my family back. I lost everything within a year, and it's hard to find anybody who gets what's going on or what's happened. How do you get somebody to work on healing if they will not give you the chance, but your kid is suffering from it? Ugh. Okay, so firstly, my brother, you are not a mistake at all. So that lie can die today. You are not a mistake. I think this is hard. The last thing that sticks out to me, love, in this is that, how do you get somebody to give you a chance to work on healing if they're not going to open up that door? I would say to you, my friend, that your healing has nothing to do with the family that you no longer feel like you have in the way that you want it. So here's where the hope is. You can get really, really healthy, work on yourself, and health speaks for itself. So if your wife decided, I can no longer be married to you, you violated my trust, I'm going to divorce you, I'm going to take our daughter, that's her right. Your role now becomes getting healthy. And it's like avoiding healthy people. It's like trying to get out of the sun. Can't do it. It's so bright and it's so strong that you have to acknowledge there's the sun. That's what a healthy road can be like. And my leaning would be that if you worked on what you can work on, I'll take my chances to see if there's a door that opens in the future. It might not be the reconciliation that you want, but at minimum, your daughter's respect for you and the ability for her to heal will be because of what she sees in you. It won't necessarily be, my parents got back together. And no, some stories don't work out like that. You can't control your ex-wife and her road to healing. You can't do it. So why even focus on it? She has to do what she has to do, but you have the power to work on you. And I will take my chances, my brother. My life is a testimony to this degree. I didn't care whether Laura's going to give me another chance or not, or my kids are ever going to trust me again, because I couldn't control either. I was like, but I am going to try to dig deep and fix some of these things in me that have created such death around me. And over time, I think, Leslie, you noticed it, the girls noticed it, and I think the work speaks for itself. So be hopeful today, my brother, that if you can ante up the courage to just keep on working on you, maybe there is a beautiful breakthrough in store for you. You got any thoughts on that, love?
No, I think you answered that really well.
Okay.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That gets me in my heart for that individual. Do you want to read one? Or you want me to keep on?
You read them. I don't know which ones you're reading from. I'm looking at the ones.
All right, I got one more that I'll read, and you can read. This is big. So my husband is a church pastor, and he revealed to me 9 years ago that he had been sleeping with prostitutes for 4 years previously and was addicted to porn. We have done a lot of work, and we've recovered-ish. Shout out to the ish. Yeah. I get that. Every few months for the last 3 years or so, he slips. Not back to the bad old days, but watching graphic sexual content, not telling me until I ask how things are going. My heart's hurting. It sets me back every time. It seems relatively low-key, but this is something he agreed he was not going to do in his inner circle of behaviors, and he keeps doing it. It's exhausting for me, and honestly, I'm wondering whether I should stay. And I'm very scared to leave because of the financial implications. What do you think? Luzzie?
Well, he's obviously done therapy because she knows the terms of the inner circle and all of those things, and the behaviors and the cycles. It sounds like he needs to get some help again.
Yeah,
some pretty heavy help. And for her, she might need to get some help as well to figure out what to do, because that's a lot. To keep going through that for 9 years.
That's a lot.
I don't know that I could do it.
So I would pick apart a couple terms for this beautiful person who texted. I think the word slip up is not accurate. So when you're recovering from
it's a relapse,
certain sobriety issues, a slip up is something you tell somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about on the other side. The correct term, especially if he's already admitted it's in his inner circle, I would ask you to consider what consequences you have in place for these actions, because right now you're still out of control. One of the most dangerous things you can do is be in a relationship with an addict who has the control. Mm-hmm. A recovering addict, we don't get the control.
Right.
So it sounds to me like there is some room there for you to reevaluate what you do boundary-wise and say, hey, these are unacceptable to me, and the consequences will now be this. And to your point, you're scared financially. I hear that, and we both can validate that fear. I have another fear for you. Rather than be scared to leave because of the finances, what might the toll be on your mental health and your well-being? I would rather be healthy and broke than horribly scared, manipulated, and have a little bit of money. That's a decision everybody has to make for themselves. But, ma'am, I would say you need direct intervention here, because if a guy is continually going back to something that he has already admitted is in a red circle. So for those who are not familiar with addiction circles, the middle red circle is I'm done here. My hands are up. I got to go back to a rehab. I got to get help. Everything starts over. Mm-hmm. You don't flirt with red. This guy apparently is living in red and telling you it's a slip up. So you got some challenges in front of you, but they all have beautiful, beautiful windows to get some hope.
One thing that I haven't talked about much is the support groups for women in these situations.
Huge. Say more.
We've suggested some books and therapy and all that kind of stuff, but there are some great why am I blanking?
Groups?
Great groups, sorry. Great groups like CODA.
Yep.
Which is
you did that for a while.
Codependent Anonymous groups and stuff like that for women who are dealing with people who are in addiction and all of that. I really highly suggest for a lot of these cases and a lot of these questions that you can go to those. A lot of them are online. You don't have to go to a group, in person, which is also great if you can. But I know for me, it was during COVID, so there's a lot of Zoom groups that happen around the country. And you can find them on, I think it's just CODA.
Yeah.
CODA.com maybe. But that's a good one to look into as well for some of these wives and spouses that are dealing with.
Yeah, here's what I'll say, Bub, to that. Why it's important is because all those meetings are based around counsel. Mm-hmm. So you might be able to hear other women talk about what they're doing that you might not be doing that can drastically help you, or you can remind yourself that you're not going crazy. Some of those meetings are great just for that, so you can hear other people go, okay, I'm dealing with that too. So yeah, it's a great point.
It's coda.org.
Yeah.
O-R-G.
And you did that for a while.
That's a great one. There's a lot more, but that's just the one that comes to my mind when talking about this.
Here's one. My husband of 7 years had an emotional affair, in quotes, which I call BS on that phrase because this is what she said, because an affair is an affair, but I'm using it anyway so you understand a little where I'm coming from. I discovered about 2 months ago, 2 months into our marriage. I also found out through the years that he lies a lot. I'd say compulsively and habitually. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm just a woman who could be wrong, but I doubt it. Hilarious.
You're not.
You're not wrong. Anyway, we just now 6.5 years and one baby later, began marriage therapy, and it's going great. Literally, though, my husband sat me down, dropped a huge bombshell. He shared he was taken advantage of at the age of 16 sexually by a woman twice his age at the time, and continued a sexual relationship for an entire year. So I can just stop there and say that's heavy abuse. And everything's now making sense. His betrayal, his behaviors, so much. However, I'm feeling so many emotions and all the things right now. I want to be his friend. I want to remain constant and be loving, but also WTF in all caps. How can I best support my husband while also figuring out how to deal with the issue and the overwhelming emotions that came with this information that have now completely consumed me? It's a big bag of burning right now, y'all, and we're going to make it work because we're choosing to do it every single day. Pray for us. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's brave. You have anything to say about the emotional affair label, love? Because I've heard you talk about that before to me.
I love how I think that's just a Christian thing, maybe as well.
Maybe.
I don't know. But it's an affair. Like and for me, like people say, what's an affair? It's anything outside of the boundaries that you've set up as a couple. And also, I think it is anything that takes your attention and your energy away from your spouse. So if your energy and your conversations and your like emotional whatever is going to someone else outside of your marriage, you're confiding in someone else, or you're sending photos or whatever it is, that's an affair. It's an affair.
We like to hang the hats of the adulterers on people who physically touch another person. Yeah. And what you come to find out is it's pretty much a load of crap. I think that's the last leg of it. But the affair started way before anybody got into bed with anybody. Yeah. And I think that's a reality that people need to face. Ministries would be in trouble. And that's the reason why we come up with terms like emotional 100%. Affairs, because there's a lot of guys who are in the middle of affairs right now, but it's not physical yet. So you can get away with it in our world. So I think that's the first thing is you have to get your terms correct with your spouse. And so for you and I, an affair is what we say it is. And it's these 9 things. And it has nothing to do with that particular thing or this particular thing. Each couple needs to decide what constitutes you breaking your marriage vow of fidelity to me. If it is a text and we agree on it, so be it. If it's a running conversation, so be it. If it's physical touch of another, every couple has to come to that specific, moment themselves. But that's the first thing I would say to her is good catch. She also said that he lies a lot.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Huge deal. So there's a couple things going on in this email in regards to you finding out he was abused. Laura, you've been in a similar situation. I think, how is that story being told? How is he holding it? Is it a shield of excuse, or is it a bridge that he has let down to be something that brings context, clarity, and healing? Big difference in how to hold a story like 100%.
That. 100%. And the other thing that's in there is that they started marriage therapy. I'm guessing that's together.
Yeah.
My thing with that as well is couple therapy is great, but you're only as honest as you feel safe in a situation or in a room like that. So you're only going to be as honest with the therapist and with your spouse there.
Yep.
You're going to say what you think you need to say.
Yeah.
That is going to keep it,
I think
gives enough truth, but not all of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
We can be honest. We don't have to hedge. I mean, we both feel strongly that marriage counseling together can be effective if the couple's relatively healthy. It's awesome. But when you're dealing with lies and betrayal and that should come opposite down the ends road. Of the track, our experience has led us to believe that maybe it's more resourceful for each one to get their own individual work. Because if you are on the couch with your husband who is a liar, the presence of a marriage counselor changes nothing. In fact, ladies, big moment of clarity. If a man is a liar and a manipulator, all he will do is morph into that situation and think about what story do I need to tell on this couch to get out of here?
Correct.
So men are pretty smart, sometimes in the wrong way. I'm sure women do that too. I can't speak to that. But I like the idea of, for us, it was a huge issue for you to get so healthy and for me to get healthy on our end. Then we meet together as people who are on a health journey. It's a lot better than you suffering through half of a marriage counseling session, waiting for me to be honest about something, and you know the whole time this isn't real. And then the couple gets in the car and they fight.
Right.
And the man says, if you ever mention that stuff again, this stuff happens all the time. So our leaning towards marriage counseling is, it's great. It can be very helpful. But if your marriage is in crisis, we think sometimes getting counsel by yourself is much more resourceful.
Yes, and I think a lot of these guys don't do the work for themselves. Like, she should be able to be like, he has this man that he calls, he's going to this group on Tuesday, he goes to this group on Wednesday, he's talking to this pastor on Friday, like whatever it is. Like, you did that.
Yep.
And I found that was a really comforting and safe thing for me, because I didn't have to. I speak to so many people who are like, can you tell me where to send my husband, or tell me who I should.
Leslie, let's do a public service announcement.
Yes.
If you are on the betrayed side of a relationship and you are pursuing help for the betrayer, it is a terrible sign. And you might need a fresh acceptance of reality and understand that although your heart is beautiful, it is not your job to repair your marriage in that way. And if you are forcing this guy who's already betrayed you and already let you down, already lied to you, to now go get help, I gotta ask you to take a moment, reflect, and get some wisdom on that, because we've never seen it work. It always is begrudgingly resentful material to use in the future.
Well, then as soon as the wife's away or whatever is happening, it's like a playground for a guy who's like...
It's the wrong foundational message, which is like, if you really wanted to change, like someone who wants to get in shape, they get up, they set their alarm, they go to the gym, they shop for themselves, they buy the right food, they get their meal plan together, they stop doing things that make them fat, they start doing things that make them healthy. And it's like, imagine waking, honey, please go to the gym. Please go. Please stop eating Snickers. Can you stop? Hey, anybody have any ideas on stuff that might be better than a Snickers for my husband? Because he just loves them so much. Like, we would call that woman crazy. But when you start talking about betrayal, you're still getting catered to like that, it won't work.
Yep.
So unless you see a posture of complete ownership, I would think twice before letting down your fresh drawbridge of potential trust, because I don't think it goes well. And unfortunately, we got a lot of evidence to back that up. So that could be a really helpful thing.
Yeah.
I will read one more, and then Bob, I'll throw it to you. This is a good one. Here's a great question. Lights on team. Carl and Laura, thank you for doing the work for all these years to help so many people. Thank you for saying that. You've become... Goes on to say a lot of nice things. I appreciate that. My question, how is God sovereign and all-knowing in my life when choosing a spouse is up to me? I just finished Gary Thomas's The Sacred Search, and this was his biblical perspective. I hear some people say that there was a specific instance in which God said, this is your spouse, and others where they never got confirmation in any way. I'm asking in faith. I'd like to reserve my spot in line for marriage counseling. When I do meet the man God has for me, great. I appreciate you guys. All right. So I don't know about this book, The Sacred Search, so I cannot speak to it. But we have a very clear thought when it comes to this. Do we think that God has a specific person for everybody to marry? That is a resounding yes. The hitch with us, though, is that we believe it's the person that you choose. So whoever you look across the aisle from and you commit your life to them and you promise to be faithful and you promise to hold them and take care of them, that's the person that God blesses. That's the marriage that God anoints. That's where the peace is. So I don't love the idea that someone can miss this. Like, for the people who have said God spoke to them audibly, clearly, I don't say you're lying. I don't also believe you. Great if you have that story. I've never known anybody that God has spoken.
Well,
That's the person.
Yeah, and there's a difference, I think, of God said, and then, like, with us, you were like, you said to your mom, I think I've met the woman I'm going to marry.
Here's exactly what happened. I saw you, I laid my eyes on you, and I felt so strongly that I saw the woman that I was going to marry, that I called my mom. Mm-hmm. And I was 20 years old.
20.
I said,
21.
Mom, I found the girl I'm going to marry, because I chose to feel that. Right. I chose to lean into that thought. God did not show up. An angel did not brush his wings on me. There wasn't a holy moment. It was a choice moment. And I think God is so gracious. He does this throughout our life, that even if you make a decision where you look back, I don't know if that's the best decision. Well, that's why we needed a Savior in the first place. It's impossible to do this on our own. So for anybody out there thinking you missed the right person, I don't think that's possible. I think you choose who to marry with the best wisdom you have available. There are a couple couple obvious things everybody should be looking for. But at the end of the day, you're choosing somebody who has to grow, no matter who it is. So I would say, if that's where you're sitting right now, where you're like, I don't know who to pick, is God going to reveal this person? Yes and no. He already has, to a degree. It's going to be your choice. What do you choose? Yeah. And that's why I don't believe that love is a feeling. And we could talk about this throughout a whole episode. But Laura and I have never been a proponent of I fell out of love with someone. It is a cheap way to say I chose to stop loving you. No one wants to say that and be honest. So we fell out of love. Nobody falls in love in the first place. You don't fall in love. You choose somebody to love. You say, I choose to love you. I choose to care about you. And when that feeling dissipates, to act like it's the love that's fading, no, what you feed grows. People don't want to face down this fact, love, which is there's a fire burning here, and I chose to stop putting wood on that fire. Yeah, so you can tell the world you fell out of love, but the truth is I'm making a clear choice to love other things, and it's not you. It's the tougher thing to say and to hear, but that's the truth. So I don't believe that love is a feeling that we can bank on. I feel like it's an awesome feeling to have. Leslie, we felt in love with each other at times. And there are times where we feel it. There are other times when you're like, this is one of those love is a choice days. Like I feel 100%. Nothing on a Monday.
Like when your shoes are everywhere.
Like when you snore and pull the covers. By the way, I've accepted the fact that you will rip the covers.
You do that too.
Like you stole something. Like I'll have a perfect setup. I got my Atkins sugar-free Reese's Pieces, which I hate myself for. Got my chips set up in my phone, perfectly parched, like just right there on the pillow. That took me 40 minutes to get. And then Laura will roll over and rip the freaking blanket. Everything gone. Bowl on the ground. Chips on the bed. Phone. Now I've lost my place in the show. It's hard to live with you. In moments like that, it's like I got to count the cost. Everyone's always looking to, oh, Laura, she's so great. Look at all the costs she's counted. What about me?
You're an idiot.
What about me? Okay, last question.
There's so many.
I know. These are great, though.
This is the question that we're going to finish on.
Okay.
What is your favorite thing about marriage?
Ooh. Easy answer is you, because I'm married to you. I think my favorite thing about marriage is being free to be with another person. Like it's an under talked about beauty of marriage that people can take all the shots they want at marriage. Cool. But my marriage represents for me the one place where I can go with everything. And it's an incredible feeling. It's beautiful because we still believe that marriage is a God idea. We still believe there is a blessing attached to it that you cannot replicate. You cannot get any other way. All you cohabitators out there, God bless you. I've never done that. I'm sure that has its, but we still hold on to this beautiful truth that God's in marriage. And that's why he blesses it. So for me, my favorite thing is just being. Like we can be doing something or not doing something, but if we're together, it's awesome.
I agree.
That's my favorite thing.
I think I agree. I was just thinking that because someone was saying, I saw one of the questions was that they feel like they don't have an emotional connection with their spouse. Like there's not a lot of depth happening. I love being in a place where we can say anything or nothing And it could be the crazy, like, honest truth, like, this is an awful thing to say kind of thing. And still knowing that I'm safe, that, you know, that won't break our marriage, that won't, just having that open honesty and just of being, exactly what you're saying, just being
normal. So go back to the question, though, because there's actually something in there. So she said, there's not a lot of deep connection.
My husband's emotionally unavailable and we only talk about surface stuff, nothing deep. To be brutally honest, I'm married and lonely and I ache for more. Read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, really enjoy listening to the banter between us. And it must be so satisfying to have this level of communication.
Yeah,
what she's saying.
It takes a lot of mother effing work.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say this is hard to hear. Whoever you are, thank you for writing in. Your husband's not emotionally unavailable. He's just emotionally unavailable to you. And that helps you kind of whittle down how to attack it. And because no man is emotionally unavailable. They've just chosen somewhere else to be available. So the question for you is, what are you willing to accept and what do you need to reject? I like bringing that out. We've had some moments where we've had to have really hard discussions of like, hey, I need this from you. And before I resent you for not doing it, let me be clear with what I need.
Yeah.
I need to be able to talk about A, B, and C, and here's the most beautiful response I could ever imagine you could have. And then now you're talking. So if you have an emotionally unavailable husband, there's something deeper going on, and he needs to figure out what's occupying that space.
Well, it's probably some sort of, maybe he just doesn't know how to communicate. He's probably had a mum that's communicated for him.
You got to give him the chance to understand how you feel without crushing him, because sometimes wives will go really hard with that husband. Like, you're not there for me. You're emotionally, you are. Take out the you are and maybe start with the I am. I am in need of a connection that we currently do not have. How can we build it? I want it to be a connection that, man, there's so many.
We could maybe talk about that in another pod.
Yeah.
Just about some of those practical tools. Remember in the beginning, like, because you didn't know how to do that with me.
Idea.
I didn't know how to do that without using the words good and great.
Yep.
Like, I would ask you, how are you? I'm good.
Not allowed.
And
off the
that
table.
Was it. So,
how's your day, babe? Great. You need to say it's not allowed.
So we had to learn that those words are not allowed.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean by this. So we were able to come up with like 3 things. Like, I am feeling that we could maybe go back into my journal and go back and see some of those those practical things that we did, though. Like, I like that. Like, how am I feeling emotionally? How am I feeling physically? How am I feeling sexually, spiritually? And we would do those every day to each other until we got to a place of being able to do that without doing it.
It just happened naturally.
We did that for the first year.
Longer.
Maybe, probably longer.
We would do it every morning for a while. Like, how are you feeling this? How are you feeling with that?
We would do it a couple of times a day.
We would practice using words. And so let me just say this too. It is such an honor to do this podcast and to have people choose to trust, this window, to hear what we have to say. And I want to be real clear. There's no way we should be married. None. Like, the relationship we have now is in Ephesians 3:20 type of prayer request, that God is able to do more than you could imagine. So what we represent is a lot of mud, misses, fights, tears, threats, arguments, and communication, repentance, hard work, help, more help, more help, smart people help. And the result can be, after a horrible, crushing betrayal, 2 people that love to be around each other. We don't have a perfect marriage. We do have a marriage that we both love to be in.
Correct.
I will take that all day long.
Yeah.
So just want to encourage people to don't get fooled. Don't get fooled by the Instagram stuff. Don't get fooled by what you think when you see that cute little pastor couple up there talking about whatever. Like, they have their stuff just like you do too. And it's a good thing to remind yourself today, if you are struggling with where you're at, accept the fact that you're on a journey and today is not the end. Today is not the day that's going to put the period on any sentence in your life. Best is going to come in the future. So that's enough for today. Lights On Podcast. Laura Lentz, I love you. Pray for me to get some sleep, y'all. She be snoring. It's terrible. Lights.
Which reminds me.
No,
that reminds me. I've got to call my snore person because I keep missing that appointment.
How about we prioritize the snoring appointment? We will do no more podcasting until that question.
Guys, I have sleep apnea, I think.
Oh, no, it's not perimenopause.
It's
now
perimenopause.
It's how many excuses can we load up to just make it palatable?
I don't mean
We're
to
out of
do
here.
it.
Guys, cut the tape. Lights
Love you
off.
guys. Bye.
Love you.